Good afternoon, Professor. It's very easy to call you Professor and get away with it, but I would like to know from you, how do you want to be addressed? By your first name, which is Bimol, or your surname, which is Akoijam, and why do you have your surname second? Usually I thought in the Northeast people have the surname first and the given name second. So
Yeah,
just
that's
explain that.
true. In my part of the world, we write our surname before. I joined what can be called a revivalist movement when I was in school. So I had a surname called Singh, which is a typical caste name. So I removed it, and I put my clan name in the front. And because the surname is important, so when I study outside, people tend to shorten my name, and my surname disappeared. That's why I put the surname behind my first name is Bimol, which is primarily in the eastern part of India. Is a Sanskrit word for Vimal.
Vimal.
So it's become in Bengal Bimol with that rounded sound. So we have all the way to Manipur. You can call me Bimol.
Bimol. Thank you, Bimol. So that also, gives a hint of the ethnic composition of that region, which you explained in your ethnogeographic talk that you had given. But how deep is the communal divide now? It has become, instead of an ethnic conflict, it has become a communal divide now. So could you please explain?
Yeah, first of all, I think, Prasanna, there's something that I have been reminding. Sorry, I tend to sound more still. I said, in my bone marrow, I am still a professor. So I tend to talk like this. So there is an issue, and the term like race has become problematic in the post-colonial period, or post-war period, as they call in Europe. So I suspected everything that we used to talk about race has now been discussed under a more acceptable terminology like ethnic. So in US, they will say which ethnicity. That would mean that you are an Eastern immigrant or Western Europe immigrant, so like that. So in other sense, in this sense, ethnic has that racial sense of the term. And I found out very interestingly that in India, rest of the conflict, group conflict, we call it communal conflict. I'm glad that you use this word, but in the Northeast, because of this racial profiling, all the conflict in the Northeast is often referred to as ethnic conflict, which I tend to avoid. So it is a communal conflict, which I have explained. It is a legacy issues and how contemporary politics aggravates the same thing. And this violence, unfortunately, has brought the conflict to the societal and personal spaces. So the conflict has become very, very deep now. But by saying this, I don't want to support those people who says you can't live together and stuff like that. It's unacceptable to me. But as a country, we cannot accept that kind of a reasoning. This deepened divide must be overcome. We must be doing things to reverse this, to do all kinds of healing processes that is required. So yes, it is very, very deep now, particularly between these two communities, following this violence, and especially after you have allowed it to happen for so long.
You talked about your election from Inner Manipur and the large majority or the huge majority that you won by. So what is the significance of that? Yes, it's not just the numbers as you rightly said.
I think so. I think that, this country, our country has a huge percentage of 60% or around that is young people. Manipur is no exception to this. So I can see, young people campaigning for me, people who do not even have the voting right, school kids, 15 years old, because they have mobile phone. I've heard a lot of stories about when I go for campaigning, they call me affectionately Oza. Oza in Manipur means master or teacher. So he said, Oza, don't campaign. My daughter had called up from London, or my daughter has called up from Bengaluru saying that you should vote for this. Stuff like that. So I think the people have spoken out. This is what I feel. It's not my victory. It is the victory of my people. The clear message to anybody that don't take the people of Manipur for granted. I think that's the meaning of the victory that we have.
Did this victory, I mean, did it have anything to do with the visit of your party leader, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, to Manipur? Because he started his second Bharat Jodo Yatra from Manipur.
Yeah.
So did your victory have anything to or the,
I think so. Because, when the Prime Minister says that you don't matter, your tragedy don't matter, train accident in, Orissa matters, some bridge collapse in Gujarat matters, Ukraine matters to me, but give a damn to Manipur kind of an attitude. But a national leader coming in saying that we care for you, I think it sends out the communications and people do feel about it.
So when you look forward, I mean, though assembly elections are quite far away, but what would this, I mean, your seat as well as the other Manipur seat, both were won by the Congress. So what does it signify for the assembly elections that are forthcoming?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that, this is not only a dream and we should not allow that. I know there is a way and BJP will learn, if they haven't learned still, that despite, in my constituency, there are 32 assembly segments, and only 3 belongs to the Congress MLAs. Despite that 22 constituencies, we were ahead of them. So that's a clear message. They will be routed out in 27, and we will be working towards that. That's one of the recovery and self-respect for the people of the state.
So how's, is the situation right now, is it something we can call normal or near normal or a matter of concern?
Northeast has suffered from what we often call it normalizations of the disorder. This is a disorder order. That's a system. You have military paradigms working simultaneously with civilian ethos and so on. There are a lot of abnormalities. So the present crisis, that abnormal aspect has been sought to be normalized by the Prime Minister. For instance, he said schools are opening and this are opening. He doesn't mention that my people will not go to colleges in Churachampur, or Churachampur students don't attend colleges in Imphal and so on. So there's a division. Bureaucracy is divided. You don't get posted in another area if you belong to another, which is unheard of in this country. So, so I would say there's an attempt to normalize this disorder. But to my mind, the situation is more or less the same.
So what steps do you would recommend need to be taken by the central government as well as the state government to bring it back to at least near normalcy?
I think, as I've suggested, first thing that the government of India must take a very firm stand on the fact that there is no demand will be given based on communal, sectarian, exclusivist identity politics. But that should be a very firm communication that many of these communal cacophony will disappear. 2, the Prime Ministers must visit the place, as G.K. Pillai once said, our Home Secretary said, Manipur has been, a lot of injustice have been done to Manipur, so Prime Minister should go and apologize. He said long time back. I think, if I've said this in one of the interviews, if Modi ji has the Raj Dharma in his mind, he should go and apologize for what has happened and try to say that now I will work, pass is pass, and no fight, my citizen will not be used as a guinea pig in this kind of a violence. So he should do that, and then he should call all his MLAs and thrash it out among themselves first. Otherwise, do the necessary thing to, they are propping up a satrap in Manipur. It's like a rubber stamp. Everything is dictated by Delhi, and only for the name you have a government being propped there. In fact, long time back in Karan Thapa's interview, I warned, today it may be Manipur. This erosion of federal structures can happen anywhere with this one nation, one language, one religion kind of thing. Manipur is experiencing that. The CM has admitted that his power has been removed, and funnily, he is a willing partner to this whole game.
I think we are running out of time, but before that, tell us about your family. You have a school-going daughter, and your wife is a school teacher. Your father was a professor, and he joined Congress in 1980.
Many people said, my father was also a history professor, and he also joined Congress in 4th election, way back in 1980. Though I'm not in Congress because of my father, please. I have nothing to do with that. I have my wife and my children are here.
In fact,
you know,
they are
that,
here, I
so,
suppose. Yeah.
yeah, there are two daughters, and this is my nephew, and I have this. I have my elder brother. We have come from professional family. So my brother is, my elder brother was a police officer who expired. One is a doctor, he's a professor and dean of the biggest medical college in Imphal. My sister-in-law is also a doctor. She also teaches in the college. My younger brother does business, you know, so I come from that academic, professional background. My uncle were in the Air Force and stuff like that. So we come from that kind of a family.
But you are also a creative side. You are a filmmaker.
Yeah,
and I heard you are also a singer.
Yeah.
I'm
My
not
mother used to say I'm in the wrong profession. I should have been a singer. So I still get a chance in my film, then I will always sing one song for myself. And I'm into films. I'm in love with cinema since the 80s when I was a student.
Okay.
So I make movies, and in fact, in JNU also I teach a paper on cinema and culture in India. So cinema is, God willing, I'm already working on my next feature film, so let me see. Because of this crisis, I couldn't concentrate. I'd love to do that one.
Thank you, but if you had little more time, I would have requested you to sing here. But
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we missed that.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this. And thank you for Manorama for inviting me here and allowing to share my concern. I think, please pray for my home state. The suffering of the people of my home state should be considered as suffering of humanity and this country. All of us are part of that pain. Some governments, some people think that it don't matter to them. But I think Kerala is one state I could feel that has stood up for Manipur. And thank you so much for your solidarity.
Thank you, Professor Akarijam. And our thoughts are there always with Manipur, and you're not alone, sir. Thank you, President. And I request Mr. Romy Matthew, Chief Coordinating Editor, Manorama News, to present the memento. Thank you all.